What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the crew too. And well, as y'all know, it is Wednesday, which means a new summit is now live. And for this week, we have the Wacky Snow Ride, bringing us a chance to get the Proto Hup 1 Clumsy Edition. This car honestly reminds me heavily of the older taxi car we got a while ago. So if you guys did miss that vehicle, at least we'll get something similar to that. I also remember that car not being the greatest thing when it comes to performance, but then again though, you're probably going to have fun just driving this thing around, so I can't wait to actually test that thing out. Definitely stay tuned for the video of this car, after this summit is over. And then in gold, guys, we have the legendary half set, which is the second part for the monster truck, so this is definitely going to be one of those sets I highly recommend getting, mainly because I find the Nitro Chem is set to be insanely good on the monster trucks, especially in the races and stuff, which do tend to show up in the summits a lot more often nowadays, I would say. But moving over to the next summit, though, is going to be the Winter Runner, which will have the 3100 on the cover. Also in silver, you'll get some free parts for that truck as well. But in gold, we have the Raptor Evo 2, so if you guys do have this truck, you will get the money back for that, which is always going to be a plus there. I honestly haven't really used the Raptor Evo 2 in quite a while, so I might have to revisit this truck once again. But in Platinum, we have the Sled Rooftop there, so that might be a pretty interesting Platinum reward. I will also have to see how that's going to look on some of the cars, that is, if you can actually put it on it. But taking a look at this summit though, guys, I feel like it's going to be pretty fun. So we have some Rallycross, Rally Raid, two street races in there, with one being the 3100. And then we have a demolition derby. It looks like you'll have to use a demo car in one of the Rallycross events, so that one's probably going to be pretty interesting. But moving over to the next summit though, the Flying Germans is once again bringing back the Porsche Cayman GT4 Wasp Edition. Definitely one of my favorite summit cars in the entire game, not only because of how this thing looks, but my goodness, guys, the performance on this car is definitely going to be pretty incredible. And then in gold, we have the legendary half set for the Alpha GP cars, which I would say those two affixed stats on a score breaker set is probably not going to be something you guys want to go after. You obviously want something like skilled on there, would help this a lot, but the Alpha GP cars are actually pretty good when it comes to slaloms and stuff, so I would recommend going after this set. But moving over to the last summit, at least until we can see beyond the space, which I do believe is going to be that crazy looking Raptor. But nonetheless, though, and under the radar, guys, we're going to have the Catch Me Underglow, which might look kind of hilarious sticking out of one of the cars. And then in Platinum, we see one of the weirder sets here I have not seen in quite a while. It's going to be a Live Reward Sniffer. Not only that, though, it's also going to be for the Rallycross vehicles. So if you guys are actually into like cruising around in the Rallycross cars, and I would recommend going after this set, but if you actually don't, then I'm not sure if this set's really going to be worth it. But then again, I feel like another way you could look at this is the fact that you might be going after all the sets and maybe you do want to collect all of them. I actually don't believe I have a legitimate live reward sniffer set for the rally cars, and or at least not a good one, so in that aspect I would definitely recommend going after these, because eventually you guys can find yourself with every single set in the game, and or at least getting better ones from these summits. And now moving over to the Wacky Snow Ride Summit here, starting off with the Speedtrap. So for this one, I once again used the Corvette Stingray. I would say this is probably not going to be shocking to many players though, because I would still say this is going to be one of the best overall drag cars in the game. I mean, this thing is just so good. For this one though, guys, on the stadium, I actually jumped into a plane, flew over the actual objective, then landed back down, went to the end of the street, and then turned back around. I would say this is probably going to be the best way. Do keep in mind once again that you can only go so fast with the drag car solo, so if you guys do want to go over like 420 miles per hour, you will have to slipstream somebody. This is unfortunately going to be the only way to do that. But moving over to the next skill is going to be a slalom, and for this, guys, it's once again Manhattan. For this, I actually use the Ducati Panigale R. I would say you could basically use any vehicle of your choice on this one though, because luckily these slaloms now can basically be used by any vehicle in the game. Like you could probably use a monster truck on one of these. I know one of my friends was doing that, which is kind of hilarious. You could use a street car, a hyper, a touring. Just make sure you guys do have a score breaker set though. I would say that's going to make these a lot more fun, because you can still get 155k basically running one of your favorite vehicle classes if you would like to. Then moving over to the last skill though is going to be an aerobatics, and for this one, I did end up using the Zivko Edge 540 V3 once again. I really do feel like this is going to be one of the best overall planes to this day for the skills, and I notice on the west rim that this is going to be one of the longer aerobatic skills as well, so I would definitely recommend trying out the Zivko if you guys have not. This thing is very easy to maneuver, and I feel like the stability makes these aerobatic skills much easier. And then moving over to the first event in the summit is going to be a touring car race where you guys get to drive the CCGT, so I would say this is going to make many players happy. Do keep in mind though, this is going to be stage 7, so it's going to be one of those longer events in the game as well, but I really do think the CCGT is going to make this race a lot more fun. Like, the handling on the CCGT I still feel like is going to be some of the best in the entire game. I mean, funnily enough, this was actually one of the first cars to get that handling update, and my goodness, guys, it's really going to show. And this is going to be stage 7 as well, guys, so it's going to be around 4 minutes to do this event. Even then, though, I feel like the CCGT really does give you a lot of confidence. I love the way this car handles and that stability, plus it's going to have a pretty decent overall top speed, being one of the fastest touring cars in the game as well, so I really do feel like a lot of players are going to like this car. I would even go as far as saying some players might actually start using the CCGT after running this thing in this event, if they really haven't used this car that much in the past. But moving over to the next event, you guys will be able to drive the new Hup 1 as well, so I'm not gonna lie guys, this is going to be a very interesting race. The main reason why I say that is the handling on this car is going to be, well, I guess kind of odd and or weird. This thing really does like to slide. I noticed the more you try to turn it and or if you hit the analog stick kind of hard, the car will kind of slide a lot, so I would recommend being a little bit more careful with the analog stick. I somehow got 149,000 points on this event, so I would be kind of careful going around the turns, and I did notice you can drift around them. That might be the better option as well. I was finding this to be a little bit easier in manual, so I would recommend trying out manual, but do keep in mind though, this is going to be a 5-speed, so it's going to be kind of odd to get used to. But even with this car being kind of weird with its handling, I cannot wait to try this thing with the proper pro settings and a nitrochemist set. And now moving over to the drift event, guys, you can use any vehicle of your choice. So for this one, I picked the Mazda RX-7. This is still going to be one of my favorite drift vehicles in the game, but if you guys are looking for something that's going to be like very balanced, I would recommend trying out the Nissan 370Z Pro Drift. Not only is a 370Z Pro Drift going to be insanely fast with some of the best handling in the drift class, it's also going to be one of the few cars in this class, guys, that you don't actually have to mess with the settings on it, so that's always going to be a plus there, unlike the Mazda. But even then, guys, I would recommend trying out the Mazda with my settings because this car is going to be insanely fun to use, and it also has very good drifting stability. And then moving over to the next event's going to be a live Xtreme series, and if I had to guess, I feel like a lot of players are probably not big fans of these. I can definitely see where you guys are coming from, but for this one, I did use the Ford Fiesta for the rally car, and then finally in the hypercar class, I actually used the Porsche 918 Silvery Edition from that one motor pass, and my goodness, that car is definitely insanely impressive, guys. But I would say the biggest highlight of this Xtreme series is the fact that you will have to use a hovercraft on this one, guys, and I would say by far the best one to use is definitely going to be the Proto Speedster. I really don't think there's a reason to use any other hovercraft in the game at the moment. I really do feel like the Speedster is going to be your best option. And I would say for the hovercrafts, you guys will definitely want to have nitrochemists because the nitrous on these are going to be very important. Mainly going around corners and or keeping your speed up is going to be insanely helpful. And if you guys are wondering, by the way, the best affixit stat to have on your set is by far going to be drifty because these things slide all over the place, and having that one affixit stat on your vehicle will basically allow you to never run out of nitrous. And then moving over to the next event's going to be a street race where you guys get to drive the Ferrari F40. I would actually say this is going to be one of the most underrated street cars in the game. I know that might sound kind of insane, but the F40, guys, is going to be a really good overall car. Like, this thing has great handling. It is going to be a 5-speed, so once again, if you guys are running manual, it might be a little bit wonky, but even then, though, I feel like this car is very forgiving. You can definitely fly around corners with it. It doesn't oversteer or anything like that, so the Ferrari's definitely going to be a really good option, even running this thing on different races in the summits. And then moving over to the last event in the summit, guys, you will once again be able to use the Red Bull RB14. I'm not really too shocked that you get to drive this car once again because this thing is an absolute blast. Not only that, though, you also get to drive this thing on one of the street events, which I think many players are going to enjoy the fact that you really can race the Alpha GP vehicle in one of the street events. Of course, this is going to be in the snow, so it's not going to make the most sense, but the RB14 really doesn't seem to be all bothered by the snow, so that's going to be great. Obviously, with the handling update, this is going to be one of the best Alpha GP cars in the game. I would really love the fact if I can actually use the Alpha GP cars in a hypercar event. I really do feel like mixed events in this game are going to be so much fun, but that's basically going to do it for this summit, guys. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Let's jump right into this.
Two, one. One.